And I will tell you, I was on the show last year, I think, with Karen, and we talked about the Iraq War. Well, I can tell you, right now, this is a continuation of that war. From my time in the office of the Secretary of Defense of Policy, there was a long-range plan to take out the entire Middle East and put in puppet governments. And I'm just telling you facts there. And the only thing that held us back was when we got stalled in Iraq because of an insurgency. But the goal was to take out Iraq, Syria, and then take out Iran within, with a youth population and then the exile community of Iran. Now, let me just share something with you, real quickly, just to lay the foundation. Then we'll let Chris jump in there, especially from the military-industrial complex, which that's his baby there. He's really very knowledgeable of that. But the first thing I want to tell you is that BB has had this in his plan all along. He's always, for years, wanting to go in to Gaza and just clean the place out and displace people. The only reason he didn't do it in years past, because we wouldn't allow him because of the pushback that you're going to get, that you're seeing right now with the, unfortunately, killings of all the innocent children. Before we came on, I was watching television and I saw two babies that was seriously injured, and there was an individual trying to rush them to the hospital, and he was just crying. They were not his children. I guess they were the only two that survived the latest bombing. With that said, they wanted to do this all along. That was a part of the Iraq War. Instead of going in it directly, at the time, the Bush administration did not want to go in and have to, to get all the pushback of all the killings that were taking place. So their goal was, guess what? To take out the supporters of Hamas and Hezbollah. And that was the goal of taking out the governments of those countries I mentioned earlier. But since that didn't work, BB has been waiting for the excuse. Now I'm going to share something with you. As we use 9/11 to go into Iraq, because Iran, Iraq, Syria had nothing to do with 9/11, but we use that as an excuse. Well, guess what? Now we're hearing October 7th. Yeah. It is our 9/11. It is their Pearl Harbor. That was the excuse that BB was looking for. So I just wanted to lay that foundation and then give y'all a chance to ask some questions. Let Chris chime in.
Well, I'll just say real quick that most people who live in Gaza are either direct refugees or descendants of refugees who were kicked off their land in 1948 and the years leading up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, the military-industrial complex is a huge part of this. Jen, you mentioned it, that we're able to tune it out because it isn't here, and that's a huge part. The wars aren't physically fought on our, in our country right here. However, it's good, and you guys mention this all the time on your show. It's good to mention that the military-industrial complex does indeed hurt the American public, and it does that in a couple of ways. One of the big ways is that tax dollars, money that could be going into programs of social uplift, healthcare, that's a big one for you, Jen, education, infrastructure, all of that goes instead to war, espionage abroad and at home, as the Snowden leaks indicated. And so that's the first thing, is tax dollars that could be helping the American public instead go to nonstop elective war. And the other one is, it's a poverty draft in a way. The poor and the working class of our country are the ones who end up fighting and dying in the wars and getting maimed physically and mentally. And so it does come back and bite us big time. So and Israel's a huge part of that, because there's an indirect transfer of money from the U.S. taxpayer that goes to Israel, $3.8 billion every year, and then Israel uses that money to purchase from the U.S. war industry. So it's an indirect transfer, and this conflict, this latest conflagration, has to be seen in that broader picture, and that's one of the reasons why Congress is so one-sided on this thing. One of the reasons.
Hey,
I would suggest AIPAC. Yeah. I would suggest AIPAC is a big part of why they're with the way they are.
Yeah. If I could make a quick comment on something
Sure.
Chris just said, and we were talking about the military-industrial complex. Think about this for a moment. I'm being conservative when I say this, but between the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan, $2 trillion between the both of them, a total of $4 trillion, but it was more than that. I'm being conservative. And think about the billions of dollars that we've spent on the Ukraine-Russia war. What did we get out of the Iraq and Afghanistan war? The Taliban still in control. The Iraq is under the control of, really, quite frankly, of Iran, with the Shia population. You know, the Shia family. What did we get out of that? Well, who got something out of that? The military-industrial complex. I think they were the only winners. So think about those trillions of dollars I just mentioned, and think socially what that could have done for the United States of America.
Yeah. You mean instead of like going into Dick Cheney's wallet? Yeah, I would have appreciated that. That would have been nice for us to maybe share that a little.
You know, the fact
Halliburton and Brown and Root.
the fact that we've already had information being leaked that this everything regarding the buildup of Hamas over the past several years is directly correlated with what Bibi was doing behind the scenes. They're doing a very poor job of hiding that. And yet, despite all of that, the president of the United States has basically given carte blanche to the Israeli armed forces to do whatever the hell they want in Gaza.
Hey, listen, and Chris, forgive me. I'm not going to let you jump in there, but I tell you, I'm hot right now.
Go. Yeah.
And, as a former Zionist, as a Jewish person, I am beside myself. So by all means, please.
Jen, and it's good to hear you say that, because I've been talking to a lot of my Jewish friends, you know, and I had dinner. I'm sure you know this guy, a guy by the name of Ben Cohen, Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, we had dinner, you know, Friday night. And I've been talking to some of my other Jewish friends, and we've been talking about this, and they feel like you do. Now, I will say this while I'm mad. So, we're going to have to be honest tonight. You know, first of all, let me just say this. Thank goodness for shows like yours and social media, because of the fact the young generation are seeing this now. They're the ones that's going to make the change. That's why they're out in the streets and they're mad at the college campuses, because they have social media to be able to educate them on what's been going on in the past, you know, since 1948, to be quite frank with you. Now, getting back to our president, I put out a statement last Friday, I think it was, and I said, as an individual that served 28 years in our United States Air Force, I've lost total respect for our commander-in-chief. And listen, you just need to hear this. I'm being candid with this because I put it in the statement. We all now know, we've seen it right before our eyes, that our Congress and our government and our president are puppets. And I'm just being quite frank with you. And I don't care how I'm described. I'm just being honest and factual. They are puppets, and it's been seen right before our eyes. Our Congress, they can't get a doggone Speaker of the House, but the first thing they want to do is rush and get a arms package to Israel. They haven't said nothing about us.
Well, they don't really care.
And we're seeing it firsthand now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that people are seeing this. Like, it's like we're watching this in real time, that we're actually condoning a genocide. And one of the things that infuriates me, I have said it many times, that of all the Jews in Congress, and I call them out specifically because there's the loud ones that we know of. But the truth is, there's a disproportionately high number of Jews in Congress, which is not shocking, I'm sure. And yet not one of them could stand up on this issue. And I don't even mean even now. I'm talking pre-October 7th. Like, not one of those people can stand up for what's right to do, because they are so scared of basically AIPAC. And they don't know, but I've always said this about the people in there at this point. It is one of two things. Either they're being willfully ignorant, because the information is available, like you said. Most of the people that stand on the side of Israel still fail to acknowledge the Nakba. They do not acknowledge that. That does not exist for them. They come at this from a mythology and from the Bible. They are not dealing with reality. So they're either being willfully ignorant, because if you're in Congress, you have access to this information, or you're lying to us. And like, for my congresswoman, I have no doubt she's lying. She's lying. She knows what's going. She knows what an ethnic cleansing looks like. I'm sure of it. You know, so they're just lying. And they are on the wrong side of history. it is infuriating to me.
I have thoughts on that, but I want to give Chris a chance. Like I said, I don't want to take over this thing as mad as I am. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just thinking that, Dennis and I are down here in and around the nation's capital. And I was just thinking we have Bethesda, Maryland, home to Lockheed Martin, Arlington, Virginia, home to RTX, which used to be called Raytheon. Falls Church is Northrop Grumman's headquarters. Arlington's also home to Boeing. They recently moved their shop there. And General Dynamics is a little farther out in Reston, Virginia. And, you just wonder, how happy are they right now that they have, another massive, load of money coming their way. And you see it in some of the statements that some of the people in Congress and even the White House have sort of openly stated. They've said, kind of how they pitch the war in Ukraine these days. They do the same thing. They say, hey, this money's coming back in the United States. They're starting to say it, not the quiet part out loud, but they're trying to, when they're convincing their constituencies a little bit, they say, this money's coming back into the United States. And actually, on that note, there's an excellent budget guru. His name's Steven Semler, and he's at the Speaking Security Substack. And he came out, he crunched the numbers on the Biden, $106 billion budget request for these, 3 wars that we've got going on, or direct and indirect. And he showed that most of the money is indeed coming back into U.S. corporations. And so I encourage anybody listening and anybody watching to go to Steven Semler's Speaking Security Substack, because he has a graph and it's all laid out. So it is, war's a racket.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.